I'm hurt. I don't know. It don't even feel real. It's still, I just left out the house and seen her and everybody yesterday.
Grief and disbelief overwhelming family members of those who died in the early morning Strawberry Mansion fire. Officials saying the flames started before 5 a.m. and consumed the home quickly. Neighbors saying there was barely any time for those inside to escape.
Yeah, it was very fast. I mean, we looked out the window, it was already engulfed in flames. By the time my husband came downstairs, she had already jumped out the window. And there was no going back in the house.
Who that? Murder, murder, red rum. Red rum, a murder, murder, red rum. Mrs. Kaiser, murder, murder, red rum. Red rum, a murder, murder, red rum. Who that? Murder, murder, red rum. Red rum, a murder, murder, red rum. Mrs. Kaiser, murder, murder, red rum. Hey. Y'all know I'm poison. Yep. Hey, you ready, murder?
The sky was still dark when the house caught fire. The street was quiet, but inside that old row home on North Corley Street everything changed in seconds. No warning. No time. Just heat and screams and smoke. Ashley had gone to bed with her unborn baby safe in her belly. Her children were already dreaming. Her mother was resting upstairs. It was the kind of night where nothing should go wrong. But something did. The flames came fast, too fast. Like they had been waiting, like someone had helped them. Before the neighbors even saw the fire, the windows were glowing. By the time they looked again, the house was burning from the inside out. In a panic, a woman jumped from the second floor. She held a baby close to her chest. Her arms wrapped tight. She hit the ground hard, but the baby was still breathing. The fire didn't care. It kept growing, eating every room, every wall, every memory. It didn't wait for firefighters. It didn't wait for mercy. Inside, Ashley lay still. Her baby, 8 months along, never even had a chance to cry. Her little boy, Assad, had just graduated kindergarten. Her daughter, Alaya, loved to laugh. They didn't get to run. They didn't get to live. Everything they ever touched turned to ash. And just like that, what used to be a home became a grave.
Police trying to find out who did this and why. We are told they have a person of interest in this case.
Ashley Thompson was only 31, but her life was already full. She didn't chase fame or fortune. She chased peace. She loved her children more than anything in the world. Every morning, she packed little lunchboxes, brushed tiny heads, and walked them to the door with soft kisses. Assad, her 6-year-old, had just finished kindergarten. He had that proud smile kids wear when they know they've done something big. He was smart. Gentle. Always asking questions. Alaya was 4. She had her mother's eyes and her own world of laughter. She liked bedtime stories, bubble baths, and racing around the living room with her brother. Ashley was 8 months pregnant. She held her stomach with the kind of love only mothers know. Another baby was coming, another heartbeat she was already protecting. They lived in that house with Ashley's mother, Sherry. For generations shared those walls. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. Ashley spent her days washing bottles, folding clothes, calming cries. There was joy in those halls, and noise, and the simple beauty of being together. No one expected that their last night would be that night. No one imagined that the floors their feet danced on would be the same ones that burned. They were just a mother and her babies, waiting to meet the sun. But the fire got there first. Sherry Jackson had lived through hard days before. She had buried loved ones, raised children, faced storms, but nothing like this. That morning, the fire came without warning. She opened her eyes to heat. Smoke filled the hallway before she could even find her slippers. The crackling was loud, too loud, like the walls were screaming. She didn't have time to think. Her eyes found the baby, a 2-year-old girl. One of the youngest in the family. Still in pajamas. Still clutching a stuffed animal. Sherry grabbed her. Held her tight. There was no way down. The stairs were gone, swallowed by the fire. The door was already a wall of heat. Her lungs burned. Her legs shook. But she wasn't going to let that child die. So she ran to the window. 2nd floor. The ground looked far. Too far for a woman in her 50s. But not too far for a grandmother. She leapt. She hit the ground hard, ribs breaking, heart still racing. But when she looked down, the baby in her arms was still alive. Crying, but breathing. They had survived. But behind them, the fire didn't stop. The house was still alive with flames, and inside, her daughter and grandbabies were still trapped. Sherry could barely move. She couldn't run back in. She couldn't scream loud enough. She could only lie there, broken, watching her world burn.
He just graduated yesterday. Assad, that little boy, he just graduated yesterday.
The house was still smoking when the investigators came. Long after the flames died, long after the sirens faded, they stepped over the blackened wood and ruined toys and began to listen to what was left behind. Because fire doesn't start itself. Not like that. Not this fast. The front of the house told the first story. The steps, once covered in welcome mats and toddler shoes, were now soaked in something darker. Something sharp in the air. It wasn't just charred wood or burned plastic. It was chemical. The accelerant-sniffing dogs knew it before the humans did. They circled the porch. Sniffed. Saturday. Came back again. Same spot. Every time. Over and over. They were trained for this. Trained to smell what people couldn't. And what they found couldn't be mistaken. Gasoline. The kind that spreads fast and burns hot. The kind poured with purpose. The kind that turns a home into a trap. Investigators followed the scent deeper. The pattern of the fire wasn't natural. Flames don't leap like that, not unless something helps them. It had moved too quickly, jumped too high, swallowed too much. This wasn't a space heater mistake or a forgotten candle. This was planned. A fire like this doesn't just kill. It speaks. And what it said was clear, someone wanted them gone. The fire had started at the door, the only way out. It wasn't just fire. It was a lock. And whoever lit that match knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't just want the house destroyed. They wanted everyone inside.
It's very depressing, and the street has had like a very ominous vibe since everything happened.
Many leaving gifts outside the home, building a memorial for the victims, and praying for the recovery of those who managed to escape.
It was just horrific. I just heard somebody screaming when she jumped out the window, the lady, and she had the baby cradled in her arms, and the whole house just went up in flames.
I spoke to the woman who jumped, 54-year-old Sherry Jackson. She tells me Fleitte Newell is her sister and that the two had been fighting over the house for a year. She says Newell had threatened to burn the house with her in home.
It's very depressing. And
the house on Corley Street wasn't just a home. It was history. It had been passed down, generation after generation. A place built with hands and prayers, not money. When the last elder died, the deed didn't go to a stranger. It stayed in the family. It belonged to two sisters, Sherry Jackson and Fleitte Newell. But sharing is only peaceful when both hearts are. Sherry lived there. She raised her children and grandchildren there. She cleaned the floors, paid the bills, turned that space into warmth. It was her roots. Fleitte didn't see roots. She saw value. She wanted her half, sold, split, cashed out. She didn't care where Sherry would go. She didn't care about the kids in the house, or the babies crawling across the living room. Her eyes were on what she believed she was owed. At first, it was just words. Harsh phone calls. Slammed doors. Then it got colder. Fleitte stopped speaking with love and started speaking with threat. She told people she was going to burn the house down. Said it plainly. Like it was just another option on the table. Like setting fire to her own blood wasn't madness. People heard her. They brushed it off. Sisters fight, they said. She's just mad. But Sherry didn't brush it off. She went to the police. She filed a report. She warned them that her sister had threatened to burn the house, with her inside it. The paper trail was real. The fear was real. But the system? It stayed quiet. Nothing was done. No follow-up. No protection. Just a file in a drawer. Behind closed doors, the bitterness festered. Fleitte didn't want to wait anymore. She didn't want to negotiate. And she didn't care who had to die for her to feel like she'd won.
In a connection with a deadly fire that killed a pregnant woman and her 2 young children. 2 others were hurt when the home went up in flames in Strawberry Mansion earlier this month. NBC 10's Miguel Martinez Valle is live outside Temple Hospital, where one of the victims is recovering. Miguel.
It was still dark outside. The kind of dark where the world feels quiet and asleep. Most people were. But not everyone. At 4:50 a.m., 2 shadows moved through the street. No headlights. No noise. Just the soft crunch of footsteps and something heavier dragging behind them. Fleitte Newell didn't come alone. With her was a man named Charles Sumpter. 67 years old enough to know better. But he came anyway. He helped carry the can. Helped pour the liquid. Helped set the trap. They didn't knock. They didn't shout. They didn't give anyone a chance to leave. They walked up the front steps of the house on Corley Street, the same steps that would soon glow with fire. They opened the gas can and poured it across the doorway. The smell alone should have been a warning. But inside, the family was asleep. Ashley curled around her belly. Her children wrapped in blankets. No alarms. No time. When the match was lit, the flames obeyed like soldiers. They shot up the door, hugged the walls, danced across the ceiling. Within seconds, the house became a furnace. Fleitte and Charles disappeared into the dark. They didn't stay to see the flames spread. They didn't wait to hear the screams. They just left. But fire always tells on who started it. And that match, they struck it with intention. It wasn't rage. It was murder.
I'm hurt. I don't know. It don't even feel real. It's still, I just left out the house and seen her and everybody yesterday.
Grief and disbelief overwhelming family members of those who died in the early morning Strawberry Mansion fire. Officials saying the flames started before 5 a.m. and consumed the home quickly. Neighbors saying there was barely any time for those inside to escape.
Yeah, it was very fast. I mean, we looked out the window, it was already engulfed in flames. By the time my husband came downstairs, she had already jumped out the window. And there was no going back in to help anybody else.
As the family grieved and prayed, officials from the fire department, police, and ATF investigated the cause of the fire, using accelerant-sniffing dogs who kept leading detectives to the front steps where they focused their investigation.
After the fire, the block changed. Neighbors stopped opening their blinds. Children stopped playing on the sidewalks. The house on Corley Street sat blackened and hollow, like it was still grieving. People came, though. Quietly. With balloons. Teddy bears. Candles. Flowers. They stood in silence. Some cried. Some just stared. Photos of Ashley and her babies were taped to the gate. Notes were scribbled in shaky handwriting. Rest in peace, little angels, we love you, this didn't have to happen. The smell of smoke was gone. But the sorrow stayed. Nobody could believe it. Not really. That someone from the family, their own blood, had done this. That a sister could light a match and walk away as her niece and great-nephew burned. That a woman 8 months pregnant could be left to die just to settle a score. Then came the news. On June 25, the police arrested Fleitte Newell and Charles Sumpter at a home across town. The charges were heavy, 3 counts of murder, arson, conspiracy, and more. They didn't resist. They didn't cry. But outside, the community felt it. A strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Yes, they caught someone. But catching someone doesn't bring back a mother. It doesn't undo the fire. It doesn't put laughter back into that street. It just gives a name to the nightmare. And this time, the name was family. This wasn't just a fire. This wasn't just a family dispute gone too far. This was a warning that no one took seriously. Fleitte didn't hide her anger. She told people. She threatened Sherry again and again. Said she'd burn the house. Said she didn't care who was inside. She said it loud. She said it often. And Sherry listened. She believed her. She went to the police. She asked for help. She filed reports. She did everything the system told her to do. But nothing happened. No knock on Fleitte's door. No protective order. No extra patrol. Just silence. Like so many other families stuck in quiet battles behind closed doors, they were told it was a family matter. That unless someone got hurt, nothing could be done. But by the time someone was hurt, it was too late. Ashley was dead. Her children were gone. The unborn baby never took a breath. This wasn't just a failure of one woman's heart. This was a failure of every place she tried to turn for protection. Experts call it invisible violence, the kind that builds over time. The kind no one sees until it's too loud to ignore. But the signs were there. The rage. The threats. The history. And like in so many homes before and after this one, the system waited too long. It's easy to say, she should have left. It's harder to ask, why wasn't she protected? Because if someone had listened, really listened, this chapter might not exist.